Welcome to CareSmarts on Air, a home care podcast. I am Ruby Mehta, VP of Sales at CareSmarts. Today, we are glad to welcome Brandy Broadbent, the owner of Home Helpers Home Care of Rochester, Michigan. Brandy has dedicated her career to providing compassionate, non-medical support to individuals in the Rochester area who need a little extra help around the house. Home Helpers Home Care offers a wide range of services from personal care and companionship to light housework, transportation, and even 24-hour monitoring with GPS tracking for emergencies. Brandy and her team understand that maintaining independence and dignity is crucial as we age or face health challenges, and they work tirelessly to ensure their clients can continue living safely and comfortably in their own houses. With Brandy's leadership, Home Helpers has become a trusted resource in the community, providing personalized care plan and a team of trained, bonded, and insured caregivers. Welcome to the podcast, Brandy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, Brandy, you have an extensive experience in home care operations and being an owner of this franchisee. We want to understand, and our audience would love to really get your insight and expert advice. But let's start with a typical day in your role as the owner of Home Helpers Home Care. What are some of the key responsibility and tasks that you tackle on a daily basis?
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the fun things about being the owner of Home Helpers is that there's really not a typical day per se. And so there's a lot of variety. Some days are spent, or a lot of days are spent networking with other professionals in the senior community to really build my network. And so that when I go to clients, if they have other needs, like if they're downsizing, I can point them in the direction of a trusted realtor. If they have, organizing that they need to do, I have organizers that specifically work with seniors. So really building that network of things they need so that I can be not only a resource for home care, but for their other needs as well. So I spend a lot of time networking, also going to Chamber of Commerce events, again, to meet other people in the community and to let people know that I'm a trusted advisor in home health care or in home care. So a lot of times these networking events lead to one-on-one meetings where, say example, for somebody from hospice and I can sit down and discuss how we can support each other and really support the clients so that our clients are taken care of as best as possible. Other days, I just went through a round of hiring last week. So I spent 3 or 4 days hiring super highly qualified caregivers, talking to people, really getting to know their background and how they can support the Home Helpers mission of providing exceptional care to people. And then other days, and I just got back from a meeting with a potential client. They wanted to sit down and really understand the type of care that we can offer to their parents who are aging, having a little bit more problem getting around, doing the light housework, doing meal prep. And so I was really there to talk to them about what my caregivers can provide, meal preparation, light housework, helping them, stimulate them, that making sure it's clear that not only do I want a caregiver who's there to look after them, but I want a caregiver, I'm going to put a caregiver that's there that's going to stimulate them, help them with, exercise, help them stimulate their mind, and that I'm really going to look after all in a holistic manner, look after their parents. And then there's other days, of course, when I'm just catching up with email and phone calls, getting back to people, setting up future meetings. And there's some days that I'm following up with leads on the phone, just trying to talk to more people. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's actually everything, right? From managing your employees to caregivers and networking, which is the most important and essential part of running a business.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I talk to a lot of schedulers in the industry, and they're always the busiest people in the office. They're always dealing with phone calls, call-offs, and a lot of different situations all the time. Tell us a little bit about scheduling and coordination at Home Helpers. How do you manage and handle scheduling in your office so it's not as difficult as it sounds?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, scheduling is key to meet the client's need, which is our first priority, and then meet our caregivers' needs and making sure that you're matching the right caregiver with the client so that that's a good bond that can form. I couldn't do it without our operating system. We use something called WellSky, and so I can manage, I add shifts, I can assign shifts to different caregivers. One of the nice things about working for home helpers is that it's really fits a flexible schedule. So caregivers can go in to the operating system and mark times that they're unavailable. They can request days off when they've got something else going on. So for me, as the one scheduling right now, it just gives me great visibility to go into the operating system, see who's available, who's not available, and I can also read down the caregivers and see what they're best qualified to do, what kind of experience. If I'm looking for a caregiver that has experience with dementia, I can read through my caregivers, find the one best suited for that client, and then match the caregiver with the client. I use WellSky as well, not only for scheduling, but for tracking my leads. If I get a lead and I've tried calling the person a few times, can't get a hold of them, I make that note in WellSky and then set a task for myself. Okay, follow up with this person in a week. So in a week, I get an email notification telling me to check back with that potential client. So it makes sure that I'm following up with people. Also, when I go out and I'm networking and I go visit, an assisted living facility, I can come back and enter my notes for the assisted living facility, who I met with, what we talked about, what my follow-up actions are, and set future tasks for myself. So yeah, it's really great to have kind of that all-in-one picture that I can look at, and it just helps manage my time, helps make scheduling the most efficient use of my time as possible.
No, that's great. Using technology and using the right tools really makes things easier, 100%.
I don't know how I do it without it. Yeah, definitely makes it easier.
Yeah. And then the other aspect of operations is really managing your financial operational piece. What do you use and how do you really manage your financial activities within the office?
Yeah, for my financial tracking, I have a business card that's a debit card. I use QuickBooks Intuit, their online version, which is connected to my bank account. So every time I use my debit card, it gets connected automatically to QuickBooks Intuit. So I have, item by item, and it classifies it, however particular, if I had coffee, networking, if I have to, when I purchase marketing supplies, flyers, I just did a big event at a senior center nearby. And so I had a bunch of flyers printed. So I used the debit card, and then it classifies that in QuickBooks. QuickBooks is also nice because at the end of every month, anything that I didn't use the debit card for, I go in and I put in individually, if it's a phone bill or utility bill that I don't have set up on my debit card, I can go in and enter that individually. So I really find, and then Intuit works with WellSky. So as far as my revenue coming in, I sync the two systems, and then my QuickBooks will give me, how much money is coming in versus how much is going out, comparison to the previous month. So I can just real quick, one glance, see how I'm doing compared to last month, and really keep a close eye on that kind of thing. So yeah, so QuickBooks by Intuit is definitely the way I go.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's the key. Your operating system, if it connects with your accounting system, that's really where you kind of tie everything together and create good consolidated reports.
Yes, yeah, those reports are so key so that I can know exactly how my business is doing on any day, and really look at that really closely.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so the other aspect that people really sometimes struggle with and talk a lot about it is recruitment and retention. So, how's your experience being in the industry? How the trends have been changing? But first, let's just talk about what processes do you follow to recruit, train, and retain your caregivers?
Yeah, for recruiting, again, I rely on technology. So I put an application out on Indeed,
Mhm.
run the job advert for, maybe 24 hours until I get enough people to apply. And then I use Indeed again, and it's works great. I can send out requests to interview and I specify, the days and hours that I'm available. People sign up to interview with me, and then I block out time on my calendar, interview candidates, really find out about their background. I always hire somebody who's got experience caregiving, or perhaps has, their CNA. I also look for, first aid training, work training with dementia, or caregiving experience with dementia patients. So I look for that during my interview, and then I hire the best candidates that I've interviewed. I think offering a flexible work schedule is really helpful, really has really benefited me. And then, as far as training, throughout the year, there's different, again, different technologies. There's Care Academy that people can sign up for and get additional training, or we might have them to an office and do an in-person training, just depending on what the focus of the training is. So I definitely find it important to dedicate times to interviewing and hiring people to identify the best employees that I can find.
Yeah, no, that's great. Do you do anything specific for retention or how do you make sure that the top talent or the people that are really good with what they do, they are satisfied with the job?
I think, some key things that we do is offering a competitive salary, our competitive hourly wage, and then offering flexible schedule are two key things. And then also, I think another way that I retain employees is by clear communication. If they need something, they can get in touch with me. I've got a call with an employee this afternoon who wants to go over a few things. And so we're going to have a nice conversation. And so I just, let them know what the client's needs are, and just really making sure that communication piece is a two-way street, so that we always know what's going on with the client, and that we're always working to serve that client best. So I think that helps with retention when people feel heard and understood. And I do what I can to make sure that happens.
Yeah, no, that's great. Communication is the key. If your caregivers feel that they are heard and there is seamless communication, that's what they're looking for from an employer, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really helpful. People, yeah, when they have concerns about a client, they reach out to me, and we talk about it and see, how we can communicate with the family, and what the best plan of action is with that particular client.
Yeah, yeah. The other aspect that is very interesting and important as well is developing care plans and making sure that they are detailed enough that caregivers know exactly what they're supposed to do and they have access to those care plans. So, here comes my question. Then what do you follow to make sure it could be a tool or a technique or a general workflow that you have implemented, but what's the process of developing those personalized care plans for your clients?
Yeah, personalized care plan is critical, and it's like it's individual to each client. I start thinking about a care plan during my initial call with a potential client. I love hearing their stories about about their family, because there's always interesting family dynamics going on, and really listening to the needs of the person they're calling for, or if they're calling for the self. And so I try to understand, if it's somebody with Parkinson's, how is their care going to be different from somebody with dementia versus somebody who's going through cancer treatment. So I start thinking about things that I can offer to the client as soon as I'm hearing those first statements. And then as we're having our initial conversation, I'll say, hey, sounds like, your mom just got home from the hospital. Is she doing physical therapy? Something my caregivers can do is help keep that physical therapy going, if it's that, or just whatever I pick up on in that initial conversation that makes me think, oh, this could be a really good benefit to the client's life. I want to bring that up. And then that's the first step. And the second step after that first call is I go and do a home visit. And this is where I get to meet the client, meet some other family members. And during this, I really want to listen to the client, understand their situation, understand their needs. Do they need transportation to a doctor's office? Do they need transportation to the grocery store? Do they want to meal prep? Do they need the caregiver to meal prep? Really understanding what would make their day better, what would bring them joy during this time that my caregiver has with them. I'm also looking for things like excessive clutter, if the house has any tripping hazards or fire hazards, because I want to make sure first and foremost that the client's in a safe place. So I look at those things, look around the house, look for proper lighting or any hazards I might see. And then, sit down with the client and go over that detailed care plan. What would you like? I see you have a garden outside. Would you like you and the caregiver to do some gardening and, help keep up with the garden? Is there exercises you like to do? Do you like to take walks? Do you like to do puzzles? Do you like to do games? And then with any of those, I'm able to go into my operating system and make detailed notes about what the client would like for the caregiver to do during each session. And then the last part is following up with both the client and the caregiver after that first care. Do we need to make any adjustments? How did everything go? Did everything go well? Were you happy with the care that was given? Do I need to make changes? So I think just communication with client and caregiver to make sure that we're exceeding the client's needs is critical.
Yeah, definitely. So once you have, if you know your client's situation and how they live, where they live, what are the risks, you communicate them to your caregivers. That's the beginning of that quality care that you intend to provide. 100%.
Yeah. Providing quality care is so important. And I think the only way you can do it is by really understanding what the client needs and what's going to make the client have a wonderful day.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So there are lots of things a home care agency owner does. I mean, in the last 20 minutes, we have touched a lot of different areas, and it seems like you're involved everywhere, be it recruitment, operations, client assessment, networking, business generation, everything. So tell me, what's the most rewarding area, or what are the aspects that you think are most rewarding being in this community or being in home care business?
Yeah, I think by far the most rewarding aspect of being a home care owner is helping the families. I talk to families and they're stressed. either because they're trying to care for mom and dad in between work and caring for their children, or they're out of town or they live out of town and they can't be there for mom and dad the way that they would want to. And they're incredibly stressed. They're trying to provide the care that they want to, but they recognize finally that, hey, they can't do it on their own. So being able to have this resource and say, hey, I'm going to make sure mom and dad are not only safe, but they're having, a great day, that they're well cared for, that they're happy, that their physical lives are improving, their mental lives are improving. Just being able to provide that to families, and then talk to family after care is going and just hear that relief in their voice that, hey, my mom really, really loved the caregiver. They bonded immediately and they just had a great time. Like hearing that fills me with so much joy, and it just makes me want to help more families, and just to let more people know that, help is out there. They don't have to do it all themselves. People are so busy with jobs and families that, they can't spend 8 hours a day with mom or dad, but there's somebody that can, and my caregivers can do an exceptional job. And so I just love helping families.
So true. That's the most rewarding. I mean, if you have the passion of caring people, and that's what you get.
Yeah, yeah. Caring for people is wonderful. It's a great thing to do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, Brandy. Thank you for sparing out time for us and sharing your expertise. We are really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I've really enjoyed my time and getting to talk a little bit about what I love to do.
Yeah, yeah. Until next time. Goodbye.
Bye.